Hi, I'm Nicola, the Bonnie Gardener. There's an old saying that God created rainy days so that gardeners could get the housework done. So let's head indoors. For the past 8 weeks, we've been lucky to have some glorious weather. But today's forecast is 50-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain. So I'm going to use the opportunity to get on with some garden admin. Garden admin is all of those tasks that we put off because we'd rather spend time outdoors in the garden. So here's my top 5 things that I like to catch up with on a rainy day. Number 1, observe. Find a place in your house where you get the best view of your garden and just take a look and see what's working and what's not working. So you might think that your garden looks quite full at the moment with lots of plants out, but maybe at other points in the year you might need a little bit more colour or more height or more structure. So a good tip is to take a photograph of the garden every single month of the year and see where you might be able to fill in the gaps. Number 2, start a garden diary. So now you've observed what is looking good in the garden, it's a good exercise to take note of it so that you know for next year what is flowering and when. It's also great to take note of when you've sown seeds and when the latest frosts are so that you remember for future years. Number 3, look at your houseplants. It's a good opportunity to pay attention to plants indoors. So most houseplants will benefit from a light watering once a week and even some houseplant feed. You can even take the opportunity to repot plants that need potted on, or maybe even take some cuttings and start new plants. Number 4, learn. It's a good time to read up on pruning and other gardening techniques, and I always use the Royal Horticultural Society website, which has got really good information. You can also watch programmes like Gardener's World, or listen to podcasts such as BBC Gardener's Question Time, or you can download plant apps from your phone to identify plants in your garden. Number 5, if you're still desperate to get out of the house, like all gardeners are, it's a good time to tidy out the shed. I couldn't resist coming outside because there is just so much to do. But let's go back indoors and have a look at what some of you have been doing on the Facebook page this week. Susan got in touch to say caterpillars had infested her gooseberry bush. This is most likely to be gooseberry sawfly, which will come onto your gooseberry plant during April and July. It's a good thing to look out for them early and just spot them and take them off or pick them off the plant as early as you see them. If, however, you don't manage to get to them early, then a good natural way to get rid of them is by introducing nematodes. So nematodes are a natural deterrent and you can buy them online. Last week I mentioned that beer traps are a good way of getting rid of slugs and stopping them from eating your nice plants. Somebody got in touch to ask how to make a beer trap. So all you have to do is get a paper cup, fill it with some cheap beer or beer that you don't want to drink, and then sink that cup into the ground next to your plants. One of the most rewarding things about gardening is growing your own plants from seed. And Annabelle got in touch to say that she had started growing lots of things from seed this year to create her very own cutting garden. Lots of you got in touch to say how much you enjoyed the tour of Finn Glen House and Garden. One of the things that we showed there was the topiary yew. And after that, Paul, who's another professional gardener and somebody who I've learnt so much from, got in touch with some of his handiwork. Great job, Paul. And finally, we received this video of a garden. Can you spot what's in it? I think this gnome might have to stay in the back garden rather than the front, or else it might get chucked through your window. A rainy day is also a great opportunity to catch up with some old photos and videos. These are some of my favourites from the Isle of Lewis. Hopefully we'll get a chance to get back there later in the year. But for the meantime, let's have a look at what's growing in the garden this week. This red GM will flower all summer long. It also comes in oranges and yellows. This particular one is called Miss Bradshaw. This is a potentilla. It's a very common garden plant, but it's fantastic because it flowers for months on end. This crinodendron has just come into bloom. I love the little flowers that look like lanterns on the stems.
And what else have you learned this week?
That sounded weird from you.
I have to shout because when I'm behind the camera it just comes out really quiet.
Okay.
And what else have you learned this week?
Do it again.
And what else have you learned this week?
Stop.
And what else have you learned this week?
Now lockdown is easing, Bonnie's desperate to get back out on the open water.